Good day. Today we're looking at the law of cosine. So, I want to tell you now, anytime you have the opportunity, use law of sine. It is much easier than law of cosine. You can look at these triangles, see where you can use the law of sine, and if you can't, law of cosine is the way you'd have to go. Now for angle problems, you cannot use law of sine or cosine because you have an infinite amount of sides that would give you the corresponding angles. Law of cosines. A squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc times cosine of a. Here's what I want you to notice for each of these formulas. If you have an a here, you're using angle A. You need BC being squared and BC connected to the -2 and cosine A. Now, in this red box, you should never have to use law of cosine more than once. Now, unless I tell you to, this will be true. I'm probably going to do it today just to show you how to do the problems. Here's my examples. The directions are solve and round to the nearest tenth. I'm probably not going to round to the nearest tenth, but I'm going to solve everything on this triangle. So in triangle A, I want you to notice I do not have a side A or angle B and C. I have to use law of sine. This is side, angle, side. Therefore, the first thing I'm going to find is side length A. If I'm looking for A, I'm using the formula A, that was an ugly A squared equals B squared plus C squared minus 2 times B times C times cosine of angle A. I'm going to fill in everything that I can. A squared is equal to, my B value is 13, plus 13.3, minus 2, 13, 13.3, cosine 51. Take the square root of both sides. To solve for A. Now I'm going to type in that big long expression into Desmos. Once again, please make sure you're in degree mode for this to work. So I'm taking the square root of 13 squared plus 13.3 squared minus 2 times 13 times 13.3 cosine of 51. 11.326 approximately. Now I have this A value. If I'm looking for angles B and C, it is very, very easy to use law of sines, especially in comparison to law of cosine. However, I'm only doing this one problem, and I'm going to let you try the other two problems. So I'm going to use law of cosine again to solve for an angle measurement. Let's solve for angle C. If I'm solving for angle C, I want 13 point. Let's change colors. 13.3 squared is equal to 13 squared plus 11.326 squared minus 2 times 13 times 11.326 cosine of angle C. All right, from here, if I'm solving for angle C, I know C is going to be equal to the arc cosine of something. Now I'm going to explain this to you the way that I think about it to make the problem a little bit easier to get the angle. I'm going to type or write down my 13.3 squared in the numerator. I'm not going to solve anything. I'm going to type everything in Desmos the way I'm about to write it. So I'm going to subtract the 13 squared. I'm going to subtract the 11.326 squared. Then I'm going to divide by this entire chunk. Negative 2 times 13 times 11.326. Once again, for this problem, this is by far overkill, but you will have to use it on the remaining problems. Let's type this in Desmos. Arc cosine parentheses, in my numerator, 13.3 squared minus 13 squared minus 11.326 squared divided by negative 2 times 13 times 11.326. 65.869. So this is approximately 65.9 degrees. So now I have angle C. Work smarter, not harder. Again, law of sine is easier than law of cosine. To find angle B, though, it is much easier just to do angles in a triangle. That is to say, this angle is 180 minus the sum of 51 plus 65.9. That is 63.1 degrees. Okay, I have found everything on the triangle. Everything is labeled. There's the first one done. Pause the video, try the other two problems, and now I'll show you the answers. That is all I have for you today. I hope you have a great rest of your day.